Okay, we are here at 10 p.m. Eastern. This is the official start of the main part of our Remembrance Day event. Lank, I want to turn it over to you. I think we've been talking through a lot of it, but I think we'd all sort of like to take it from the top on the history and background, and you can walk us through how we got to this.
Oh man, and it's a bit of a story, and it's bittersweet, of course. Is when AIE first started, and I'm not taking into consideration the IE baby side because that's a separate story. But when the initial guild first started, it was a brand new guild. It was kind of grew. What started off as kind of like a simple pet project kind of exploded, and there were some like a lot of personalities, some bigger, some smaller. And out of all those personalities was this one dude named Bruce Milliway, uh, mage character, and he was the kind of guy who would give you well, actually, also in game and out, the kind of guy who would give you the shirt he was wearing. And a lot of the officers, again, big personalities, would kind of get upset at each other and huff and blurf. But Millie had a way of coming in and saying, "Hey, knock it off. We're playing a video game. Go have fun." And you know he kind of represented that whole, like, again, remember, it's just a silly game. You're here for friendship. And one day, Millie just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And at first we didn't think of it, but then we was like, what's going on? And I had gotten a text from a player in our guild named Toshiko, who lived down in New York. She had just found out from Millie directly that he had been rushed to the hospital, and he had had a tear in his aorta. He was fine, he was alive, but he needed to go through major surgery to try to repair it. And unfortunately, that it didn't work. He died on the operating table about 15 minutes into the procedure. Um, I remember leaving work, calling the hospital, and saying, "Hey, how's Bruce doing?" And the hospital, in their usual, like, uncaring way, said, "Well, we don't have a patient by the name of Bruce." And I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe it's a mistake." So I started calling around, and I got a hold of his mom. And through tears, she kind of choked up and said, "Bruce can make it." So that started off probably the biggest phone tree event that we had ever gone through, as we're calling each other, texting each other, and finally, about maybe 20 minutes later, announced to the guild that Bruce had passed. And out of nowhere, like a flame kind of just emerging out of darkness, people just started showing up, and we all kind of ended up at the shrine of the fallen warrior, and that was the first ever Guild Remembrance Day. And as Ronnie mentioned, 11 years to this day.
Yeah.
We've been doing this 11 years.
Well, our first Remembrance Day was actually on the 6th of August,
Mhm.
um, and that was so ad hoc. Like, it was almost like we were all drawn by some external agent to get together. There wasn't a person planning for everyone to be here in this spot in WoW, and like Scott and I recorded this live episode of the instance, and that wasn't planned. It was like, "Hey, how you doing? We got a lot of emails and voicemails. What do we do? Well, let's just hit record and talk." It's hard to believe it's been 11 years.
And I think you're right that it kind of set the stage, kind of created a kind of like meta notion of what the guild is, that it's just a silly game that we play. Um, I remember because I had met up with Millie about a month before he passed. We were grabbing some drinks, and Dashika was in town. And he looked at me as we were on my third or fourth like beer. He goes, "Wouldn't it be cool if we had set up an AIE and a bunch of other games, so you're always playing with your friends?" And I kind of like was like, "Ah, yeah, that'd be cool." It's like, no, really. Imagine a place where you can go play away from the usual kind of like at times toxic and caustic environments that usually happen whenever you're dealing with people who are strangers. Your only relationship is the fact that you have a task to do in this silly video game, and you need to help me kill 35 rats. And after all this is done, I never have to see you again. So I'm going to be a total jerk. And I looked at him like, yeah, that would be nice. And here we are, 11 years later, and who knows how many games, and who knows how many different environments going. He was on to something. I didn't see it at the time personally, but he did. And it just kind of set the stage in the fact that we knew because we were a community this was bound to happen, and it happened again. It's happened several times, but it's like we take this state to kind of not only remember Bruce, like is it like Vandeclaw, like Ralph, like the numerous other people that we've lost or kind of ebbed away, family members that we lost. I'm humbled and sometimes at a loss for words at the fact that what we have here. And to literally say I'm not at a loss of words, I'm being literal. Uh, if anyone would like to take the baton from me while I quickly try to get my thoughts into all lined up again, because I had this little spiel, but now it's all lost.
Randy, you want to talk a little bit more about the last 11 years?
I'm gonna say no, and I feel very much like I feel very much like I have failed to accomplish something that I tasked myself with a year ago on this day, and that is to create a permanent remembrance that we can refer to. And with each passing year, I worry that we're losing parts of this. I hope that everyone is able to get something out of it. I just don't have anything to say this time.
No, and here's what I'll say, and to you, Randy, and to everyone else. We have members in all the games that haven't been here very long, and I've had multiple members even within the last 6 months, 12 months, people that came to this last year and then thought hard about what a gaming community is, what a community is, and said, this thing that we have, of which Remembrance Day is sort of the core, is what made them realize that AIE could sort of be a family and be a home. And I think this is I said in earlier. I did go back and I listened to some of the things that Ralph said in previous years, and some of the things that he talked about was that AIE is more than just a guild. It's more than a gaming community. It has become, for a lot of people, family in some ways, a very literal sense. We've had people that have met their life partners in AIE and have gotten married in real life. That's continuing. I see it continuing. I see it continuing across the greater community that we've created across these games, and I hope everyone else is sort of seeing that too. Ralph asked us to think about it in that way. Think about it as a family. And when I tell people about AIE and the kind of things we do, I often come back to Remembrance Day, and I'll tell them, "Hey, here's an example of something that makes us different and makes us more. This is the kind of thing that's sort of at the core of us as a culture." And it resonates. As I said, multiple people across multiple games have expressed that explicitly, that it resonates, and it continues to drive that culture across everything we're trying to be.
Matt, this is Kitty. I want to say I went to one of the earliest Remembrance Day when Ralph passed in WoW, because I was playing WoW at the time and not SWTOR. And I do remember the solemnness and the respect, and it continues on. And I do enjoy being with AIE. And I appreciate the friendship and support that I've been given, particularly over the last, couple of years that I've needed.
So yeah, I appreciate that. And let me say this to everybody. This is two things. Remembrance Day is about remembering the people we've lost, and it hits really hard. People that we've lost a while ago and people we've lost recently. But it's also about, as Ralph reminded us, and we try to remind ourselves every time this comes up, it's about celebrating us as a community. So I want everybody to be thinking about that now too. Look down this list in Discord. Look at all these people that have shown up just for this event to sort of to come together in a really genuine and real life way. This is real, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all of you being part of AIE, and just being here and being present. I mean, I think that's really amazing.
I think we are at our best when we're thrown into situations like this, all of us together, just sharing stories. I've got a funny kind of little side note that goes along with the sense of community. About 5 years ago, at BlizzCon, at the Guild Hall, actually, we had my wife and I, who were there, had a guest on with us, and so the daughter of my wife's best friend, and she grew up in suburban Pittsburgh. Oddball, nerd, pick your particular label. And I've had some long talks with her about, kind of her experiences and kind of always being the odd duck and never really belonging. And, she was that really odd kind of person where she never fit in high school, never fit in elementary school. Even her family would kind of go out of their way and kind of poke fun at her. And she goes, "Hey, I'm going to this thing in Anaheim with some gaming friends of mine. My wife Robin's coming along. Why don't you come along? I mean, what's the worst that can happen?" She had moved out here to kind of make her way in the big city away from Pittsburgh and was feeling a little lost, really alienated. So here comes this 22-year-old woman, again, nerdish, bookish. She shows up to the guild hall, and all of a sudden, it's like a light turns on, and she's bouncing around and she's laughing and she's making friends. And she looked at me at the end of the event and said, "Back home, I was a nobody. I was the oddball. I was the one that would be reviled and made fun of. Here I am in this town, this event, and I'm just like everybody. Everyone's a freak. Everyone is odd. Everyone is weird. No one quite fits in. But you guys all talk video games." And her favorite game at the time was I think at the time it was Zelda, the one where he turns into a wolf. So I totally forget the name of the game. And
Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess, yes. And she spent 2 hours, 2 hours debating the finer points of Twilight Princess versus the original game versus the Minish Cap versus A Link to the Past. It's all folks within the guild hall. And that's when we noticed a noticeable difference in her. She was a bit more confident, still shy, but a lot more willing to talk to strangers and kind of see where they were coming from. She one time gave me a phone call and said, "I just spent an hour and a half talking to this 50-year-old woman about the original, Link, and how Link 2 was horrible, but Link to the Past was fantastic. And I have you and your gaming buds to blame for it."
How about anyone else?
Well, I always have something to say. Whether it's laughing, joking, just playing with all you guys. Now, I haven't been here that long. 2.5 years. I haven't had a chance to meet any of the others that have passed. But I find that it gives me strength to bring people to this guild. And how I don't want to say the word preach, but tell people about this, because until you're here, until you feel the camaraderie, you can't explain it. I could tell everybody to come play Star Wars with me, but it's not the same as becoming a part of the community. And I find that it's brought me back to who I truly am as a person. And no matter how much I could try to pay this guild back, I could never do it, because I can't thank you enough, all of you, for bringing this community to me. So from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you, and rest in peace to all the wonderful people that I didn't get to meet.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Anybody else? Because I'll totally call people at random.
I'd actually argue that this is better than family. At least for me, and I think for some. I don't get together with my family regularly. My extended family, I communicate with them occasionally, but nothing like this. Nothing like the constant daily interactions and the regular events, these yearly full group gatherings like this. And I can't even really imagine it with my real life family. Like, if we had this kind of a reunion once a year, it would be a disaster. And I was thinking about how I'm now old enough that my high school class is getting together every 5 years, which is a bit of a waste of time, because I'm in this Facebook group with my high school class, and most of them don't really know each other anymore and don't want to put in an effort to get together. So I look at AIE like that's better than family. It's like family that I chose and have had these awesome experiences with, both in game and in real life. Like I've absolutely gotten together with you guys 10 times as often as with my extended real life family. So, and maybe that's a call for us to do something more like Nerdtacular more often. But it sure does feel good. It feels good to recognize who your people are.
Let's make plans.
Okay.
We should totally do like a West Coast dim sum thing.
You and your West Coast favoritism.
Hey, I've been to the East Coast too.
I was gonna say, sure. Wait until I come back to the East Coast. Now you want to do something on the West Coast.
If only there was a central part of the United States where everyone could sort of get together.
West Coast, now
there is.
East Coast, and
I
For us
thought you were
West
only
Coast
allowed to
people-
fly over that country.
For us West Coast people, there is a central location, and we call it Las Vegas.
well, I used to be West Coast until a year ago.
All right, I think we're transitioning. We can do two things, I think. So in each of our games, I think we're going to start our walk, our march, for the ones that are going to do a walk. I think we also wanted to, and I liked Ralph did this a few years back. For anyone that hasn't spoken, but maybe just doesn't want to speak in voice, put some notes in the general channel, in Discord. Put, if there's just a name you want to put to remember, do that, and we'll collect up all those names. I'm gonna put my dad's name down. That's at these kinds of things. He passed away a number of years ago, handful of years ago, and that's a name I remember at all of these. And maybe tonight I'll have a ritual. I still have a bottle of scotch, not good scotch. It's the scotch that my dad drank, like Johnny Walker Red Label, which is not terrible.
That's good.
But I'm gonna maybe tonight I'll do one little glass of that, and that's a ritual that I have. So I'm gonna put his name down. Any of you that have a name that you want to put down there, put it down. We'll start our walks. We'll still talk a little bit about people we remember, but feel free to do it that way too, so everybody can have a voice.
So I'm going to start walking the wrong direction. There's no good way off this hill, and we're going to all end up doing a bit of a tumble. But feel free to follow me, follow someone who's following me. We'll go to Orgrimmar and light up the sky.
No, I want to listen to Van Halen.
For the Star Wars people, we're going to start a walk, and we're going to time our walk towards House Organa, which is a Star Wars location where there's been a number of memorial events. And we may need to shortcut it and get a summon when we're sort of near the end, so we sync up with the WoW team. But we'll start that now too.
Boots, were you going to do the solitary trek to the space monument?
Hoots
I
is
am
bad.
already in the at the space monument, but we got a few more people on the way, and then I'll light a Sino in a bit.
Hoots is bad because he basically broadcasted this everywhere to everybody, and
I didn't think
And
anyone
just
was going to
left on his
show
own.
up.
he left on his own.
It's fine.
Travel scepters for the win.
There's a Thrasher on the out gate.
Don't get hit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm already falling behind. danger of doing this in a few different games.
Just choose someone at the end and follow them. It's a lot simpler.
I always fly this dragon kite for Ralph because he loved it. Every now and then it electrocutes you. He thought that was really cool.
Remember when Ralph used to strip down to his skivvies, put on that sombrero, and ride around in that little tiger mount, like
The
little like playground toy, and bounce around?
And he would also say, "Hey, come here," and he would take you to a dark corner in one of the cities and pull out his giant chicken so he could show you his cock.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like Ralph.
He did that got a big old chuckle out of Garnt over here.
Just a reminder to put your character in walk unless you've remapped it. It's the /K.
See, Marcus, I told you he was you before you came around.
What do you mean?
Ralph was the lover of puns.
Oh.
We actually are missing a major component since Ralph's passing. No one comes up with the clever names for the crazy programs and or like projects that we start working on.
Hey, I've been trying.
The GURP expansion program, I believe that was all him in his naming mind.
And your mommy.
GURP, umami, yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget the FERT add-on when we did the Great Guild Sundering. Thank you, Blizzard.
Oh, that was so frustrating when that happened.
Every so often, my time hop will show up with these like pun wars that we got into on Twitter.
Speaking of sundering, don't forget, because of Deathwing, we're going to get to walk through some swampy missing trail. And since that's the case, I always just cut straight to Razor Hill.
I also want to point out that Ralph, to this day, is still kicking my butt in Futurama for the iOS. He's still my leaderboard, and I still can't beat him.
You guys are going to Razor Hill? Ralph used to always take us through the back door.
By the way, Kimmy, it's good to hear your voice again.
You're here.
I really appreciate the notes that are going into gender.
Someone is eating their mic.
Sorry, got a little hungry.
Oh, that might have been me. I was cleaning my screen.
I really love events like this. It really shows how we're more family than just more family than just a group of people playing a game together. I just recently moved and I'm, by myself in an unfamiliar city, but tonight I'm with my family and it's really cool.
Like Randy mentioned, there's the family you're born with, and there's the family you make.
I think I joined a family of wackier than my own.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not until you got here, Fusk.
You know, years ago when I was just a lad, I'd go to work and I would hide the fact that I was a computer video game nerd because you'd always get that weird look from your boss that it wasn't appreciated because it was a bro mentality.
Boy, you don't like football?
Only in video game format, and it's actually it's an overblown genre. There, shots fired.
My family still looks at me like I have two heads when I talk about my gaming.
Now, the great thing about it, the current job that I have, my executive director has a 11-year-old son, and he's all into video games and Minecraft. And she brings him into the office a fair amount. And he sits there, and unfortunately he's bored sitting there in the conference room. And one day I kind of saw him playing on this tablet. And like, hey kid, what are you doing? Oh, I'm playing Minecraft. Oh, have you seen this and this and this stream? And like his eyes like lit up. It's like, you play video games? So I walked over, grabbed my Switch out of my bag, and I showed him that I was playing Breath of the Wild. And he goes, "Is it any good?" And I'm like, "Would it be any good if I've got 350 hours logged in?" He jumped straight out of his chair, ran to his mom's office, and say, "You gotta keep him."
My kids grew up watching me play from the very first, the original Star Wars. You know, grew up watching me play that, watch me play WoW, watch me play EQ2. Now my daughter's a big console gamer and Garnt's a big MMO player right along with me. It's not cheap to raise gamers.
But worth it.
Yeah.
You know, and you think it gets cheaper.
But there's so many free to play games now. I'm confused.
Free to game.
You call me cheap?
Oh, and you cheap? No.
So
You're-
I'm lucky in that the fact that I have a lot of alternatives when it comes to picking up games of my childhood, a lot of retro gaming. And again, I was out visiting Phoenix, so of course I got a chance to meet up with some of the Phoenix officers there and some of the players there. And again, we had to hit Cheeto Banditos, and I came across this Golden Land. It sells retro games because you see, I've been trying to get a particular Link game for on Game Boy, Link's Awakening, and you see, you can buy that little cartridge for the Game Boy for like $75 in LA, and I just have a hard time spending $75 for a game. Period. So I'm wandering this golden land full of ColecoVision cassettes and Atari 2600s and 7200s and hub cards and seeing the original like Nintendo said the Japanese one, the one with the discs. And lo and behold, there's Link's Awakening for $12.99.
All the best things are in Phoenix.
If
I'm
only it
tempted
wasn't
to ask where that was, but I think that might be a bad thing.
Why? Because you'd go.
Yes.
You totally want to go. They have like 8 locations out there.
Elkhart, that's why Google is your friend.
There's a good retro game store in Southeast Pennsylvania in Doylestown.
Southeast Pennsylvania. Oh, you mean Philly?
It's about an hour and a half outside of Philly.
which with Philadelphia traffic means about 3 miles.
It's more than that. I don't know where you're driving. I get around the city fine. There's a retro game store, an ice cream place, coffee shop, and comic book store, all right in a row.
Thought you were going to say they were all together.
No, they're all on the same street. There's also a food co-op if you like overpriced food.
Did I hear overpriced, pretentious food?
Yes, you did.
I should go there.
Yeah, you're from LA. You wouldn't know anything about that.
Nothing about like overpriced, pretentious food. Not at all. Deconstructed hot dog might behind.
$6 for 4 tomatoes? Sign me up.
$6 for 1 tomato.
It's a really good tomato.
I will give you that. It's a really good tomato.
Award-winning. Sound made of gold.
Yeah, artisan tomatoes.
Have the story of the farmer on the backside of the packaging.
What exactly is a deconstructed hot dog?
I wasn't going to ask that.
Exactly what it sounds like.
Well, you get the lips, you get the hooves, you get
Parts. Before it goes through the blender and grinder.
That
you-
does not even sound tasty.
You have to ask, you can't afford it.
That's a reconstructed hot dog, not a deconstructed hot dog.
I mean, my stomach can't afford it. I don't know about affording the cost.
Hey. There's still stuff that didn't make the cut for the hot dog because we have something around here called Scrapple.
Yeah, welcome to Pennsylvania. Scrabble.
Everything.
Barf.
Not for me, thank you.
I would highly recommend that anyone would go to like a restaurant that they've never really usually would go in there where they can't read anything on the menu. At the very best, they have pictures, and the waiter doesn't speak your language, and you just say, "What's the best thing you make here?"
Worst mistake I ever made was going to a Thai restaurant in the Turks and Caicos and telling them to hit me with their best shot.
No.
Fire away.
How many days did you burn?
I got that reference.
It wasn't that
So
bad.
did I.
Just painful for a few hours, but made it through.
You see, I regularly harass, some would even say troll, the Eve Corp with my many like culinary misadventures. And they asked like today, "Hey, Blank, why don't you just buy like a cooler and bring a sandwich?" And the issue is that with my current job, I'm out in the field 75% of the time, so my car is out parked in the sun. It's 96 degrees. I'm like, "Oh, get one of those ones that plug into the outlet, keeps it cold." And I'm like, I am parked next to an SUV with 15 bullet holes. It's that kind of neighborhood. All I know is that someone's going to go through an awful lot of work for a really good sandwich.
So your story about the story about the heat reminded me of a time. One time I was trying to diet, and so I was making some jerky, very hot jerky, with some ghost chili pepper powder, because you can't eat too much if it's incredibly painful to eat. And so I had this container of chili powder open in front of me, and it was bad.
All I have to say is challenge accepted.
Here in New Mexico, we have a fiery food show every year. And a friend of mine who passed away last year would go to it pretty religiously. And when we lived together, he came back from the fiery food show. I didn't know he had gone, and he made a big pot of spaghetti. And I got about 3/4 way through a bowl, and I was just bright red and sweating and in a lot of pain. And he's like, "How you liking the ghost pepper spaghetti sauce?" And I was like,
How was it?
"It was delicious."
We're at New Mexico.
Albuquerque.
You should have taken that left turn, right?
I gotta say, ghost pepper is one of those weird foods that is simultaneously brutally hot and delicious. Like the pepper, if you could divorce it from the heat, it would be just amazing.
Albuquerque.
We actually made a right turn in Albuquerque a couple of weeks ago. Ended up in New York.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
Yep.
Say Albuquerque. You're one of those northerners.
Well, isn't it Bugs Bunny's favorite quote? I might have left at Albuquerque.
So we've
I'm from Farmington, so that's a real northerner.
Albuquerque's not that bad.
We've alluded to a few real life meetup ideas. We don't have an announcement yet because we're trying to work out the confirmation and the details, but you will likely all, I'll spill the beans a little bit. You'll likely all hear relatively soon about plans for BlizzCon this year. So without Nerdtacular, our premier guild meetup is often BlizzCon and the guild hall that we have there. That's going to happen. So if you will be in the area, whether or not you're going to BlizzCon, if you can make it there, it's a fun opportunity to have a real life meetup.
Yeah, it's still in Anaheim, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, now across the country.
Guild Hall at BlizzCon is a wonderful thing.
Also, next year, Star Wars Celebration is coming to Chicago. It's in April. I happen to know somebody who lives in that area. And we've got a handful of guildies around that area. That person I know is me.
Who's that? Pelel?
Me, Pel, Cyrene. We've got a Jedi. We've got a whole crew, I think, that is relatively Midwest. We are going to have a smaller but a sort of guild hall event at Star Wars Celebration as well. That's something that people can think about and look forward to. And again, if you can make it in town, even if you're not going to the con, there'll be an opportunity to meet up with people and get some Portillo's Italian beef and some Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza and whatever the case may be.
I'm in Indianapolis. When's that
Gen Con. It's April. It's going to be April 2019.
It's April 10th through the 15th, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And yes, Gen Con this weekend. I'm not going though.
I'll be there in spirit.
Yeah, if I didn't have to work all weekend, I would go.
Anyone else have other cons or meetups or it? And whether or not you have it right now, this is something to remember too. We've got an events channel. We've got some general channels. Throw those things out there if you're going to be someplace interesting. We've got crazy people like Lank that will pick up and go and make a road trip and visit. So put it out there. It's a good opportunity for us to meet up in real life, which is always awesome. It really is.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at Dragon Con, which should be really fun.
And where and when is that?
Labor Day weekend in Atlanta.
So, since you're going to be at Dragon Con, have you ever heard of the webcomic Jenny Breeden?
I have not.
The Devil's Panties. No, it is not porn. She just says that every time. She's really funny, and every year she has a special event, adults only. Something about a leaf blower and kilts. Enough said.
I'm aware of that event. I haven't attended yet, but
competed in that event one time at Dragon Con.
I think a couple of years ago she had a whole zombie troop, and that ended up being really, really hilarious and almost stopped the show.
Question: when is Dragon Con?
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day.
But I'm just saying.
Oh, September coming up. Right?
Labor Day weekends 1, 2, and 3.
September.
We're going to have an LA Comic Con soon because it's LA and we have to have a Comic Con for some reason. So I'll look into that. And I
But
was
we
telling
already have Anime Expo.
You know what the problem with Anime Expo is, Randy? And I love anime. Don't get me wrong. It's still one of my favorite mediums. Is that I am now of the age where I feel dirty being there.
Well,
Okay. What about KCON? We have KCON.
KCON I'll go to.
Good.
That generally skews older.
Is that a convention about the letter K?
No, it's about K-pop.
We should invite Hoots because we totally need to get Hoots out here to go to a K-pop convention.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But Hoots, it's your favorite genre.
So I do like trolling people with K-pop every now and then.
The problem is you can't troll people who enjoy K-pop.
That's exactly.
So you're not really trolling. You're just kind of feeding the vice.
Well, I found a new way to shut down Discord.
Alt F4?
No,
Better.
it's called power outage.
Yeah, I've heard that's pretty effective.
Yeah, that'll do. Yes.
Turn your AC off.
See, battery backup, so power outage doesn't work for me.
Well, it shouldn't work for me either because I have a UPS, but that didn't work. So I have to figure that one out.
So I wanted to go out and kind of acknowledge everyone who's been putting their words, their testimonials on general, particularly for the more the shyer folk. Not to call anyone out, but I really do appreciate it, and I want to acknowledge it what you've done because I know sometimes it's kind of hard, speaking up in Discord every once in a while, particularly like Double DC, who's just said that he's not a very vocal person, but thank you for putting all that down. So the Eve Corp uses this silly little website called Plug DJ, and I've been in there kind of playing some of the past Remembrance Day, and of course it now gets to play David Bowie, and of course David Bowie passing a few years ago it was rough, and I recently rediscovered and started building a little altar every Day of the Dead. And I've got this great image of a sugar skull in David Bowie fashion that I put up the very top of it. So you just have to mention that because it was, and also last year's altar was the first time I actually ended up putting a picture of a non-family member, which actually ended up being Ralph.
I always wonder what it's like for someone who's new to the game watching this.
Well, we can ask. Who's is this their first time to an AIE Remembrance Day, and what are your thoughts? Anyone want to speak?
I'm new to the game and I'm truly touched. I've been other guilds and never had this kind of camaraderie before. You guys are an amazing group of individuals.
Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you guys. Thank you all.
We've got quite a few new members around. I actually need to be careful of that. With
You never know.
No, I tend to say new members, and I wasn't here at the start, but I was here soon after. So every once in a while I'll catch myself, and I'll Marcus, who spoke earlier, who's been here 2.5, almost 3 years, and I'll say, oh, that new guy Marcus, because this is a thing. This has been a big thing for me for a long, long time now, and the people that have only been here 2 years, still seem like the fresh newcomers. Once in a while, if I'm not careful, if I'm not thinking about it. So,
a couple of years ago, we were doing the march. Early on in our history, we were kind of considered the bane of Earthen Ring. We were just the quote unquote filthy casuals who were destroying people's gameplays, and we should all go ahead and disband. And at the time, one of the biggest detractors on the server was this guild called Asmodeus Destroyers. And I would converse with them, and the hate was really palpable. We were the reason why the server was unstable and their gaming experience was awful and such. And it got to the point where I just put them out of my mind and just forgot about them. 2 years ago, we were doing the march, and I had this one guy from Asmodeus Destroyers saying, I've heard of you guys do this. What's going on? Like, oh, you're in Asmodeus Destroyers, right? It was, yeah, I've been there for maybe like 3-4 months. And I know that you guys are considered like the old man on the server, the oldest established guild. And I kind of chuckled and laughed because his predecessors hated us so much. And then he said, it's really cool you guys do this. I wish we could do this. Upon what I said, well, why don't you?
There was this guy who really hated us. He called himself the King of Earthen Ring.
Oh,
Storm
Thuman.
Storm T Human.
He was a Tauren, like Tauren Paladin, Tauren Warrior.
Tauren Warrior. King of Earthen Ring.
Are we stopping out here? Is this our stopping point?
Inside or
inside. All right.
For the Star Wars team, we're going to do a catch up. I'm going to send a shuttle to get us a little bit closer. Ours is a much longer walk, so be ready. Summon incoming in 10 seconds.
I like how you all.
You're supposed to say that in the Vader's voice, prepare my shuttle.
Oh wow, that phasing was weird.
Yeah, everyone just disappeared then reappeared.
Oh yeah.
Vader was just misunderstood.
I was going to say, I don't know if you guys know Max, but I don't know about his Darth Vader, but he's really good at Sean Connery.
So
Max,
yeah,
I'm kind of disappointed you didn't put us on the side of a wall.
That's another thing I do when I summon people. I find some very high place to summon people to, on the edge of a cliff or something. Yeah, no, the Sean Connery thing is, I'm actually quite bad at impressions. So any impression I do and for some reason tends to end up as Sean Connery.
Actually, you're pretty good at Sean Connery.
Which is that's why they all end up as Sean Connery. But it works pretty well for a dwarf. So
I think that phasing broke every follow we had.
Yeah.
If you are in WoW, if you turn around and look back at the gate, the fireworks are going.
Oh, nice.
Why is this tunnel?
And we got a dragon head up too.
tunnel to Orgrimmar is it's got bends in it to prevent me from auto walking in a straight line, apparently.
You know, up to the door, Max, or do you want to just go right here?
Right past the mailbox on those steps.
Okay. Yep.
Max, to your left, to your left.
God, now I got the Beyonce song in my head.
To the left, to the left.
To the right? No, there's no right.
What's the name of that one song? Heard it the other day. Step to the left. Crisscross.
The Cupid Shuffle.
Right.
Chalk slide.
So huge shout out to our WoW team, which was it was a whole raid team that has been working on fireworks for quite some time, haven't they?
Yeah, it's Beefmasters.
So big thanks to those guys. I heard they have over 1,000 fireworks ready to go, and you can start to see some of them going off already. Really appreciate the work.
Literally thousands of fireworks. My finger is getting tired.
Finger cramp! Finger cramp!
I made almost 4,000.
Here in Star Wars, I need a couple officers to open trade with me. I've got sparkle powder we can pass out.
Well, I can say I think we're missing one person. Eve made it there and back again with 10 minutes of sitting in between, and nobody died. So, yay.
Yet.
Well, Spork is lagging behind, so I don't know if he's caught up in something or not.
So are you guys at the back door? Bridge?
Main gate.
Okay. Sorry, I had to go and collect my child.
So everyone here at House Organa, open trade with Apis or Corley or Seema or me. Grab some sparkle powder, and if you've got any fireworks, now's the time.
Wow, rainbows are loud.
Yes, indeed.
Speaking of rainbows, in a surprise at Gen Con, there's a Blizzard store, and Blizzard is selling an exclusive pin that is a Hearthstone card, and the card back is rainbow.
Man, now I wish I would have gone, because that's only 45 minutes for me.
They're also giving away a pin that's a boom bot. And it's really cool. Speaking of things Blizzard is doing, look out for a new World of Warcraft cinematic in about 30 minutes.
Really?
Really? Yep.
The next Warbringer?
No, it's an interim cinematic between. It falls between the burning of Teldrassil and the siege of Lordaeron.
Interesting.
So that'll be ready when I wake up tomorrow?
Let the rage flow.
It's yeah, it's premiering in 30 minutes. Just look around on like YouTube or it'll probably be in the launcher even.
It's like it's like the voice of a million nerds crying out in anger.
Like there's
Well, it depends which side.
Yeah.
If you need some salt,
No, it
I've got
doesn't.
some on our WoW.
They'll just be angry about different things.
No matter what, they're going to be angry.
I'm about to say, have you seen this site
I have
called
to
Reddit
say,
before?
I do have to say the last like mini clip must have been impressive with oh god, I'm blanking
Sylvanas.
on the name. Yeah, Sylvanas burning the tree must have pissed off a lot of people because it actually made the news feed on my phone.
Oh, there's some people that have taken it too far, though.
Wait, Sylvanas burns a tree?
All right. Just look for this video in about 30 minutes.
And we also
Okey-dokey.
have Coop on Saturday.
All I just have to say is that people are kind of upset that Evil Queen was evil, and I'm like, she's evil, and everyone's acting surprised.
Who's this Sylvanas person and why are they burning a tree?
What's the
She's
story?
cold. She's really, really cold.
I heard Sylvanas burn Cheetah.
She used a sweater.
She needed to warm her tootsies.
I love hearing people say there were no reasons for what happened when there actually are very clearly laid out reasons.
Wars.
So
yeah, I'm not gonna say.
Remember, what some people call drama, I call engagement.
So there is a BFA spoilers channel in Discord. It's a great place to discuss all the things.
But it violates my fanfic.
Which is fine.
What? What did you say?
Your fanfic is not canon.
For now.
But one day, one day
he'll work at Blizzard. And then you'll rue the day you laughed at him.
Rue the day. Who talks like that? Rue the day.
People who write fanfic for WoW?
Did anybody figure out that already now the second war chief destroys an alliance city, hence rule to the line? She will be the end boss in the next expansion, I guess.
So hey, one last time to wrap it up here, as these fireworks go off. And is it Emberfire there? Does Emberfire have the job to set off all 1,000 fireworks by themselves?
Yes, Ember is setting them all off by herself.
I feel bad. Thank you everyone for coming. It's this is a significant thing. It's a significant thing to so many of us. And if this is your first time or your 11th time, we really appreciate you being here, being in AIE, and coming to this event.
And Randy,
Yes.
you guys did good.